So we talked about when we're calculating the acceleration of an object going around a circle, we use the equation a equals v squared over r. And if you're given v equals something and r equals something, that's a very easy equation to work with. The problem is we're not always given the velocity. We might be given some other information that can help us to solve for the velocity. So in this case, we want to know what the velocity is of an object going around a circle. We want the instantaneous velocity, which is the velocity at any instant, which is actually equal to the instantaneous speed, which is the speed at any instant, because velocity is speed and direction, but if we look instantaneously, we're not changing direction, so they're going to be the same. And the instantaneous speed, if the speed is constant, at any instant, that's the same as the average speed. And that we get by using distance over time. And that's how we're going to find the velocity for these problems. So we're going to say that velocity equals speed equals distance over time. Well, if you're going around a circle, the distance that you travel is going to be 2 pi r. And if you're given the time, which could be known as the period, which is the time for one complete motion, then we can solve for the speed, which is the velocity of this, by doing 2 pi r, the circumference, which is the distance, divided by the period or the time. So for example, if we're given that the radius of the circle is 4 meters, and the period, meaning the time that it takes to go around the circle, is 2 seconds, and we want to know what the velocity is, well then we can do this by velocity equals speed equals distance over time, and the distance is the circumference, which is 2 pi r, over the period. So this is 2 times pi times 4 meters, which is our radius, over the 2 seconds, which is our period. And these can cancel out. And we find out that this is about 12.56 meters per second. Another way that they might do this, object going around the circle, is they might not give you the period. Remember, the period was the time in seconds. They might give you the frequency, which is in hertz. And what that means is it's the number of loops per second. So for example, if we again have a radius of 4 meters and it says that the frequency is 8 hertz, then that means it's 8 loops per second. So if we want to know the velocity, remember that is equal to the speed, which is equal to the distance over time, which in this case is 8 hertz, which is 8 loops per second. And what we need to do is we need to multiply 2 pi r times 1 loop, because that's the circumference. 2 pi r is the circumference over 1 loop, where r is 4 meters, which is about 201 meters per second. So a short summary, solving acceleration v squared over r is easy if you are given the value of v and the value of r. If v is not given, then you need to look at the circle and determine what you have. You might be given the period, which is the time in seconds, or you could be given the frequency, which is in hertz. And either way, the main idea is that we know that velocity is equal to speed equals distance over time. If you're given the period, then you just put that in for the time, and the distance is 2 pi r over the period. Or you could do velocity is speed equals distance over time. And if you're given the frequency, then what you do is you substitute that in here as the number of loops per second, and then you just need to convert to 2 pi r, which is the distance for 1 loop.